Hello, everyone, and welcome. It's the 2024 Infinite Disc Beehive Classic. We're out at the fort in Ogden, Utah. Connor Rock, your leader after 2 rounds. It's a slim lead over this guy, Jason Lawson, who we saw in round 2. Making another appearance on coverage, Jake Brown. We saw him in the feature card first round. And Kai Kim coming at us for the first time this weekend. A jar of honey. Is that the most unique edible trophy? It is for me. I'm ready. And you see there's actually a new Mando here. During round number 2, it was Connor that went up and over on the left side, I believe, over everything. Sky Anheuser trying to take all of these tunnels out of play. And right there on the right side of your screen, right there, you can see a little arrow on the tree. That's denoting that you have to go to the right of that tree. So basically taking away the Sky Anheuser. These players, some of the things you guys think of out there. And that actually was a little bit dangerous for some of the competitors out there. So keeping that in mind, we see a new Mando added as Jake is safely over the little creek. Kai, joining us, as I said, for the first time on coverage this weekend, hails out of South Salt Lake. Also the PDGA number of 109378 and has been a member since just 2018. He comes into the event with a 991 rating, and he comes into the green of 1 with a look for birdie. Certainly not a full power shot out of Jake, just playing for the accuracy more so than the actual distance. And you see the sand right there that Connor's trying to plant his right foot on, and that obviously is going to come into play with some of these approaches. And it looks the same for Jason. A little over rotation possibly. Now he's trying to scramble for the par. A little work left to do there. Connor. Obviously a tight battle as we're watching Jake bring that left side bush line into play, or at least get close enough to it to hold your breath for a moment. But 9-8-7-6, as you see for the scores coming into this final round. Chase card also not too far off the pace. And just like that, Kai's going to go from 6 to 7 under as a total. And looks like he's going to be gaining on the rest of the card with that. Temps again in the high 80s, low 90s. Significant humidity. Not much wind to speak of throughout the weekend. But feeling a little toasty out there. Hole 2, just 207 feet. That's coming in hot, and actually too hot to go out of bounds. And that just barely is going to be marked in bounds, it looks like. I believe a conversation ensued, understandably. But when it was all said and done, that's going to be considered in bounds. And no doubt about that one. Jake, right next to the pin. And that one is over safely, just deep. Big shout out, Matt Bell with the ace, ringing it up. Oh, and Kai is just a bit left, so he's following up the opening birdie with a bogey on the second. And a missed opportunity for Connor. This did come in as the easiest hole on the entire course. Matt Bell helping out those stats, certainly, but nonetheless, the easiest hole. That's been pretty consistent all weekend. Averaged .32 below par. And certainly some moving and shaking here just on this card. Birdie by Jake. That should probably be on a shirt or a hat, right? Big drive comes in safe for Jake. Hole 3 has been very difficult to get in there and get close enough for birdie. That's another one that's in safe. In fact, this played as the second most difficult hole relative to par. .54 over par is what the round 3 average was. And we see an out of bounds coming from Connor there. And lefty, we'll see what the turnover looks like. Not so much turn, just raw power. Does it have enough to hold on? And it doesn't, or the splashdown. That means you go to a drop zone. Pitch up there for Connor. Kai from the drop zone. Drains it from way downtown. Saves the par. Jason has the turnover look to the pin. Again, averaging .54 over par. Not too upset with a par when you walk away with it. Obviously, Kai having to work for it a little bit harder. But Jake is in, and we'll see the same there from Jason. So they both have pars. And Connor is going to be over par here on hole 3, giving one back to the course and the rest of the group. Hole 4 has played so difficult throughout this weekend. Today, no surprise, it's playing as the single most difficult hole on the course. So 3 and 4, respectively, are second hardest and hardest holes on the course, back to back. So if you want to talk about getting through a stretch or a gauntlet or having a rough start, well, this is where it can happen. Especially when you come off of the easiest hole on the course in hole 2. You really have to flip the switch, and that's a pretty big drive for the lefty. Connor looking to bounce back. Pretty successful drive. Tree free on the approach. That says something. Hole 4 averaged .89, so almost a full stroke over par in the entire field. Connor hoping to hit anything at that point. And what a drive here. Can he make it pay off? I think we saw 0 birdies in round 1. If I recall, it might have been 0 birdies. Oh, excuse me. one birdie. I made a terrible joke. That's right. One birdie in round 2. And we'll see if there's any possibilities here in round 3. Well, birdie out of the question. That was his 3rd. Kai with his 3rd. Oh, no, he needed it to simmer. His words, not mine. And out of bounds. So after the huge drive, the fact that we're going to see him go out of bounds and then also take a penalty stroke and be over par is brutal. Jake tickles some chain. Pretty incredible to think about the weekend that we can name all 3 birdies over 3 rounds. What is that, about 243 chances? I think 81 times 3. Nick Newton and Seth Day got it today. Yesterday, the lone birdie was Ben Ditton. 3 birdies, 243 chances. To steal Ian Anderson's line, that certainly strokes on folks. Come on over to play in Samui. You won't bogey there at all. I can almost make you that promise. We head to 5. Certainly one of the easier holes on the course. I feel like 5 and 6 set up a little bit better for the lefty. Just with the overall shape of the hole and the intended flight path. We see a forehand here coming out of Connor. And as he gets caught up, very slow start. He's 2 over through the first 4 and doesn't look like he's getting one here unless he can toss that in. And that's not the case. Doesn't really give it a chance. Jake also not messing with it, knowing there's OB that can come into play directly behind the pin. Worst case scenario. Hits and then goes out of bounds. Brutal. Kai with a lone birdie on the card. He's now come back to even on the round, so he's 6 under, but as you can see, scores very tight here through the first couple of holes. Jason's going to fall back to 7 under. Connor's going to remain at 7 with the par. And Matt Bell's not shooting too bad either, knowing he aced on hole 2. He got off to a really good start. I think he birdied 1 and aced 2. So he's 3 under through the first 2 holes. We'll keep an eye on Chase Card, check in with them around hole 9. High and wide. Short, but not by much. It's going to give him a putt from circle's edge or so. That just might be enough to get Connor back on track. Here's Jason. And just clips a little leafage. I think that's the official term, but he's going to be closest to the pin. Solid putt, even with some distraction possibly in the background. Jake's going to get to 1 under on the round. This did play as the 3rd easiest hole on the course. Two, 6, and 5 are 3 of your easiest 4 holes. Definitely got to get some of those birdies early. Big thanks to our friends at Visionary, helping support the coverage in the tournament this weekend as Jake takes to the tee. And perfect. Skips right through the little opening there, right next to the basket. Jake looking for back-to-back birdies. Inches away from hitting the same spot, so to speak, that we just saw from Jake. He'll still have a look. Very overstable. Kind of playing a flex line, which gets caught up for Jason. Let's see if Kai has the angle for the forehand. And he too hits. And I can appreciate just the simple approach there from Kai. I don't think he was trying to get too aggressive. I think it's really easy on an approach like this where somebody's like, well, you know, if I just thread this or I get it past that, then, you know, I might be able to hit this tiny window and get away with it. You know, I see you hit something early and you force it and you make a mistake, and that's where you give back strokes unnecessarily. So, good play by Kai. Meanwhile, not a problem for Connor. He's going to go to even on his round through 7. Kai is in for the par, and Jake with another birdie. And Jason is going to fall back. This is a bogey look. And they'll head to the 8th. This PDGA A tier, thanks for coming along. Also a Disc Golf Pro Tour Q-Series event. Huge thanks to Sean and his entire crew, along with my guys out there, John and SpiiciiBoii doing the work. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but I have called this the tightest gap to hit on this course. And it just continues to chew up our players. You see a lot more power coming out of Kai. And he too misses the gap. Not sure that was exactly the release point he was looking for, but it's at least gets him 9/10 of the way there, which is something Kai would die for right now. Love to get it close.
I'll go a beat, please.
Tree put the brakes on for him as Jake is lining up, going for his 3rd birdie in a row. Big thanks to our friends at Tech Disc. Their monitoring system can give you speed, nose angle, wobble, all sorts of stats. You can also compare and see what some of our top pros have been doing throughout the year if you check out techdisc.com. It's pretty cool because it does it all, those measurements, within the first couple feet of your throw. So if you're throwing into a net like we saw from Visionary or any other net or something of that nature, it's capturing all of that data at that point in the first few feet. So make sure you check them out as we're watching a little par action, which nobody's going to be mad about on the 8th. 5th most difficult hole on the course. Techdisc.com, techdisc.com. Some smart things they're doing over there. Way smarter than anything I could give you. I'm glad we're in Ogden, though. So we head over to the 9th. There's not much to get lucky about. He would love to have that carry just a little bit more, but you are not mad with that. Big dog leg. You have to get to the corner, which has a Mando on it. And that's going to hit the fence. Hoping for it to roll out to the right, so he's got a better angle on the second shot. A perfect shot gets all the way past the arrow on the tree, and that's about 10, maybe 15 feet short of perfect. It's good. Not great, but it's good. Can Kai push all the way out there? He'll at least be able to throw a power anhyzer or a forehand and get considerable distance. Jake, on the other hand, is way more concerned about just getting around the bend. And it'll do just that. So he's set up. He'll have a long look for his third. Birdie's still in play. Likely the same for Connor, if he can just put himself out there without, cut rolling too far in. Calls it a shank, but it fights all the way through. And that gives him a look. That's going to be a long look for Eagle. We haven't seen any Eagles on our coverage, and that kind of surprises me. Will today be the day? I mean, we've seen owls already. We've seen geese. We've seen the work of bees. I guess there's a ton of mosquitoes out there. I'm ready for an eagle. Brought down a little early. And Jake is deep of the pin. I stand corrected. 0 eagles in round 1 and 0 eagles in round 2, if my math is right. I think 0 plus 0 is pretty tough. Here we are for eagle. Off the basket. And Jaden Rye, big shout out, the only person from what we see in the entire tournament to eagle the 9th this weekend. If somebody disputes that, take it up with PDGA Live. But I'm seeing Jaden Rye, your only eagle all weekend long. I'm slightly surprised. What's not surprising is the sweet, sweet action we have. We're going to take a quick look because there's some people doing some work on other cards. So let's take a super quick look at where the card is relative to everyone else. We're at the halfway point. Connor Rock, Nicholas Gill, and Jake Brown all tied for the lead. Cooper Johnson Jaden Rye doing some work. He's definitely in the conversation. Wow, what a battle with just 9 or more holes left to play. Let's head over to the 10th.
I have no idea what that's supposed to
Did I beg you to like, share, subscribe, do all the YouTube things yet? We got a nail biter on our hands here, folks.
mean. Oh, too much.
Kai going big. He says it's too much, and that's going to push way over to the left side, which is better than falling out hard to the right side, where I think you can find out of bounds.
Yeah, Jake.
Jake should like that. A perfect shot is Jake's with 40, 50 more feet to it. But again, it's not going to be bad. He's in a better position than the other two guys at this point. A co-leader. Now we're seeing... Okay, that's going to come up perfectly fine for Jason. I thought it might have too much off to the right-hand side. And this hole features the Mando that you have to go through. And a really good skip and a great play there for Connor. He's going to be pin high with a look for the birdie.
Oh, no.
He didn't miss the Mando. I mean, technically he hit it, but hit the actual Mando, so he didn't miss it. And that's a great shot by Jason. A little deep, but very workable. Again. Oh, no. Hits the left side and carries over. That means he goes to the drop zone. Huge mistake by one of our co-leaders. Especially after having the longest drive and not a terrible angle. Connor can take advantage, maybe even a 2-stroke swing between him and Jake. All right, so Jason, after being on the most right side of the fairway, so to speak, has the least sharp of the angles to approach the pin, and he's going to walk away with the lone birdie from the card. As I said, a big mistake there by Jake. Hole 10 averaged 4.18, so just a little above par, or 2/10 of a stroke above par, that is. Jason trying to take all the alleyway and tunnel out of play. Doesn't seem like anyone's really going that route at all. If you can power up and over it, it seems to be the more common play. Coming in hot. Connor has had this hole on lockdown. All 3 rounds, including 2 of which getting within 10 feet of the pin. Round 2, not quite as close, but still resulted in the birdie. And Kai will give himself a look. Just aiming for the hole in the sky up there. But that one's going to come down a little too early. Similar distance for Kai. Very different angle, though. And hearing hole 13 off in the distance. Hole 13 not too far from this fairway. On line. Jason's going to ring it up and run it down. Clean up by Brown. Kai will do the same. Well, and hats off to you, Connor. Nice work. We head to the 12th. 514 feet, par 4. Great to see that so many of you said one of your biggest memories from a few years ago, besides the holy shot, was watching the roller off this fence line Paul Macbeth executed back in that World Championships. And no shortage of power coming out of Kai. Just a laser. We'll see what kind of line he's left with, but the sheer distance alone seems like something anybody would take on this hole without hitting anything. And pretty good distance there by Jake as well. A kicker too, puts him right next to the pin. That's a birdie look. One thing we've noticed throughout the weekend is just where the scoring is at. Just remember, it was, a 7 under was hot round in round 1 by Nicholas Gill. Then a couple of 5 unders after that. So the fact that we're, after 2 rounds, the leading score was Connor at 9 under. He's sitting at 10 under right now as a total. Tells you that anywhere in that 4, 5, 6 range is one of the better scores by the time you're done with the round. It's just a matter of collecting all those birdies and holding on to them. Well, he's going to have to make a putt. Jason's putter was on fire during some portions of round number 2. And that was a good looking line, and it barely checks up short of the creek there. Can't argue with that. Not an ideal approach shot, but he still gets the huge drive to pay off. Great birdie here on the 12th. It's a little short in that 514-foot range, but clearly a very tight tunnel to hit off the tee and plenty of obstruction at the end. Even on the putt here, you could be dealing with some of these trees. So good birdie on the 12th. Played pretty much right in the middle of the field in terms of overall difficulty. And Connor goes to 2 under for today's round. And that checks up just short. So he'll have relatively short range and not putting at the water. Both of those are great to have. Oh, that doesn't seem fair. So close. He'll go to the drop zone. And Jason comes up Short, still somewhat of a dangerous putt, or at least one you have to think about. We'll see what Jake can do. This one much wider than the previous shots, and that's layup territory all day, in my opinion. What's he gonna do? Oh, he runs it. And a terrible rollback. Oh, that is worst case scenario. Because now he still has a dangerous putt coming up. And Kai not even messing with it from the drop zone. He's going to pitch it next to the pin, concede. Meanwhile, Connor's looking to pull away. Doesn't capitalize on the birdie look. Jason launches it. He's gone fishing. No. What is happening here? 13. Eating some lunch. Guess it's dinner time. Brutal. Who would think a 223-foot hole would... Oh my gosh. Ouch. The bogey. Now a par, which surprisingly looks pretty dang good right now. Sorry for the cussing. A double bogey for Jason. And Jake now is in for bogey. 2 bogeys, a double, and a par? I just don't even know what to say to that. We head to the 14th. Not enough skip or even ideal positioning. I love the forehand here. Comes out of it to at least put himself back into the fairway. This requires the low line drive. These guys coming in with great angle. This is going to get a big skip. 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6 little skips then and a roll. If you're going to get nitpicky, you'd love to be a little bit to the right of where that finished. You want to get a big skip, but you want it to be almost perfectly forward as opposed to hyzering off at all to the left or too much to the left. Just gives you a bigger lane. Some things are better than a sharp stick in the eye, and that's exactly what Connor's hoping to avoid here. Incredible. I was just thinking I feel like round 1 and round 2, he threw great approaches to give him looks for birdie. He may have even gotten them both. Here in round 3, that was by far the best effort in terms of the approach shot from where he was. Trying to fight through it. Gets caught up twice, and he'll have a long look. Deep, but playing off the backboard, that'll actually work. 14 was the exact same average as we saw in 10, as in 4.18. Kai is outstretched to his left, one knee. He has a small window.
Come on.
Oh, and now it's birdie. He's going to run that one in. Huge birdie from Kai on the 14th. Jason answers with a birdie of his own. Jason back to even par on the round. Connor is going to add to the birdie count. He's going to go to 12 under, trying to separate himself from the rest on the lead card. The problem is there's some chasing going on the second card. We're going to check in with that in a little bit, but Jake's in for the par. you need to ship any discs, I'm happy to help you out. I've got my disc in a box, disc shippers. Can alter them for single disc shipping or even 2 or 3 discs. And you get those from me directly.
No. No.
Not enough turn. Low line drive. A little bit of a skip. And Jake would like that to stay clean, and it does. So that's going to give him a short-range birdie luck. Does Kai have another long one? Many of you also remembered Kevin Jones and the jumper on this particular hole during the World Championships. Another one of those highlights that we saw. Jake trying to get to 8. And that's a swing and a miss. Oh, no. He's got more work coming back. Oh, but drops that one. Thinking, why didn't I just do that the first time? Been there, done that. Connor. Inside the circle. And a look from that left side, even closer than I realized. He moves to 13 under. Not much going right for Jason at the moment. We saw the struggle back on 13. And it's going to be tough to keep pressure on Connor here from this card. Back to 1 over for the round. Doesn't get much more beautiful than this. Hole 16 has moved into being the second easiest on the course here today. It was in the middle of the pack in round 2, and in round 1, it was also in the middle. Today, second easiest, as Connor almost dunks it. Gets it to check up and sits right next to the pin. Just no wind to speak of. And just barely in bounds. Remember, that wall isn't the line. It's actually about a meter off of that wall. So you have to get over the wall and then some. The forehand. Jake. Simmer down. Even closer. Well, now I'm seeing why this is playing as the second easiest. These guys appear to have it dialed. Make us proud, Jason. A fighter. And it's in. 4 for 4. All on the green. Who can capitalize?
No, too low.
Jason for birdie. Scoops in and out. Connor goes from 13 to 14 under with 2 holes left to play. You see the rest of the card. 7, 8, 5. Connor's at 14, looking very comfortable. But not too comfortable. We're here with a first light chase card check-in with Nicholas Gill. Remember, Connor is at 14 under, about to step up to 17 once Nick and this crew and the chase card complete it. Nick just one off the pace, currently sitting on the chase card, one behind our leader in Connor Rock. Now throwing his second. Catches left side and, well, gets hung up. Doesn't get toward all the way to the pin. So now he's in scramble mode to save the par. He's going to like that. He's at 13, leader at 14, about to step onto this tee. In fact, he's probably throwing the tee shot as we speak. And it's in. So he'll remain at 13. One hole left to play. What kind of pressure can he possibly put on our leader who's ready to go? Connor at 14. Needs to get this in bounds. Can he build a cushion? Safe, but not necessarily great. Not a problem at all for Jake. The forehand, plenty powerful. Kai cuts it short. Does he get punished? Well, not too bad. He's going to be safe at least. Par still very much in play. Maybe even birdie. Oh, the redirect didn't help, but 4 for 4 from these guys all getting in bounds. Looks like the rest of this card just fighting for podium spots at this point. I'm not sure who's all keeping track of what scores. I'm guessing Connor's got to know. Well, maybe he doesn't. I'd like to assume he knows, but maybe he doesn't know what Nick's doing up ahead. Nicholas Gill, that is. He'd love to keep all of this in his own hands in terms of his fate and destiny here. A birdie could go a long way. Not enough turn. Caught up. Will he have a look? That also gets hung up. All right, guys, so I need to know, as we're starting to get closer to the end, what kind of dramatic finish are we going to see is the question. But what I want to know is, do you guys want to see Utah and this course back on the tour? Or I guess a variation of it was on the tour many years ago. Then we had the Worlds. And now I'm asking, should this be back on the Pro Tour in full capacity? It's a Q-Series this year. Would you guys like to see this? And maybe the golf course come into play. Would you like to see this on the Disc Golf Pro Tour? Let me know. Put it in the comments. And why or why not? Huge birdie luck. No. Trying to find the window, and it's going to leave him a tester. At least the same distance we just saw Gill hit from. Connor for the par. Right side and in. So he heads to the 18th, one stroke ahead of Gill. Might be 90 and high humidity there, but I'm sweating here just watching this. Big thanks to all my Patreon supporters. Honestly, so much coverage throughout the year wouldn't even be possible if I didn't have the support coming from you guys via Patreon. I only post when I make content. It only charges you at that point. Anything helps. Back with Gil. He's safe off the tee shot. What's he going to do on the second? Just laying up around the side there so he can have a straight on look. Looks to be playing for par. He was inbounds by a little more than a meter, maybe 2 meters.
That's gonna work, sir.
It's certainly going to work. So right now, trying to apply all pressure, as you see right there, the spot where James Conrad hit from. That was a little stone that they have marked on the ground. Trying to apply all pressure to have Connor Rock take a bogey or worse. That's kind of what Nick is going to have to bank on at this point. It's no longer up to him. He's in the clubhouse, 13 under. Connor, birdie or par, wins it outright. Anything that turns into a 5 or worse, well, we got another story. But he gets through. Jake trying to bring that right side tree into play unintentionally. Big thanks to all the spotters, everyone else involved in having this event go down. I just want to know how good the honey is. Oh, that's yanked pretty hard and results in an OB. I got to see a few new players here myself this weekend. Some competitors, including Jason here, with a huge tee shot. In fact, that's the best one we've seen on coverage all weekend. Awkward. Oh, what a tree. It's going to save him. That was going to go out of bounds the entire way, but saves him. Connor needs the par. Easier said than done. Oh, rides the OB line, but comes up safe by less than a meter. Kai from the drop zone. He's got a chance to save the par. Looks pretty good from there. As I said, Jason with the best drive of what we saw from the weekend. Not the best approach, though. Too much air under it, so he's still going to have a long look for the birdie. Jake's third. Tron medal. Good performance here by Jake Brown. Just an up and down. That's all you need from here, right? Easy. Easy, right? Right? Looks pretty good. Connor just needs the par. And that's going to be a little disappointing for Jason to close out, especially after such a great drive. But a par, nonetheless, for Kai. Looks like a par coming for Jason and should be a par for Jake as well. And what a weekend it's been. See the tap out. Big shout out again to everyone to make this possible. And your champion at the 2024 Beehive Classic by Infinite Disc, none other than Connor Rock. Connor, 2 of his 3 titles right here on my channel this year. Honored to watch it go down. I love it. Connor's got a word or two to say.
Give it up for Connor Rock.
Thank you. First off, I want to thank the tournament staff and all the volunteers who helped get this course ready and tournament ready. I want to thank everybody for coming out, playing this tournament. love coming to Utah to play tournaments. I've been coming here for a couple years now. Thank you to my sponsors, or my sponsor, Park Dip Disc Golf. Thank you guys.
Congrats again. And here's your top 3. What? I'm playing in the wrong tournaments. I've never been given a jar of honey. Congratulations, gentlemen. Again, like, share, subscribe. Thank you to Sean and Infinite and the entire crew. So good. Just like this action this weekend. That's your Q-Series event. The Infinite Disc Beehive Classic. We'll see you next time.